It's time for number 50 in my series of video game movie reviews. Holy shit, I've done 50 of these things now, with the second, after the Hitman series, video game movie series Reboot. So now gone are the days of Barbie doll proportioned Lara Croft. You will be missed, blocky polygon boobs and all. Tomb Raider 2018 is brought to us by director Roar Uthaug and stars Alicia Vikander, Dominic West, Walton Goggins, and Daniel Wu. Woo woo! We follow Lara Croft once again, yet this time played by Alicia Vikander. Laura's just a struggling bike messenger trying to make it in the world. Where her family is rich as fuck, and she just chooses not to go and capitalize on those riches. Per usual, Lara got some daddy issues. You see, Papa Croft went on an adventure and disappeared 7 years ago, leaving little baby Lara all to herself. I mean, not all to herself, there were people to take care of her and all, and you know, she's rich as fuck, but you know what I mean. She's all by herself, her family's gone. And while everybody else in the world has pretty much said, you know, he's probably not coming back, dude's dead, she refuses to admit that. She says, oh no, he's probably coming back. We haven't found a body. No body, no crime. Or no body, no death, but whatever. One day when Lara receives word as to where her father was headed to on his final adventure, she packs up and follows the lead and ends up on a remote, unpopulated island where apparently an ancient evil queen named Himika was laid to rest. Now, for whatever reason, everybody believes that if they can get into the tomb of this Himika chick, they'll have some type of all-consuming power. Up to this point, as far as we know, this is a grounded in reality world, but for whatever reason, Lara Croft's dad and this other group of people that are trying to get into this tomb believe that there's all kinds of magic and power and just all that kind of shit going on in there. Now, Lara doesn't necessarily believe all this, but she does believe that her father believed it and he headed there. Upon shipwrecking on Skull Island, she gets taken prisoner by the people that are there and have been there trying to find this tomb and get this all-encompassing power. And this group is headed up by the always menacing Walton Goggins. I mean, really, if you need a sleazy bad guy in a role in the past like 10 years, you get fucking Walton Goggins. He shows up as the bad guy and you know shit's gonna get fucking real. Goggins! I don't know why I did that. So now it's up to Lara and her newfound friend, Daniel Wu, who really doesn't do anything, but whatever. So it's up to Lara to figure out what's going on this island, stop the bad guys from getting into this tomb and possibly taking over the world, and of course, most importantly, figure out what happened to her long-lost father. Tomb Raider 2018 is based on the 2013 reboot of the Tomb Raider franchise. This is a younger, less glossy, more hardcore Lara this time around. She's not really the Tomb Raider as of yet. She's more just kind of this naive girl who's trying to find her dad. Now, she does have some training because throughout the years, you know, she was rich and shit, so she goes around like shooting bow and arrows in like her front yard and all that. That's what rich people do, right? Well, that's what she did, and she had some people train her how to do that. She also like trains in like MMA fighting and stuff because, you know, that's what you do, I guess. So she's not like totally defenseless, but she's not that super confident Lara Croft that we knew from years ago. The story here does follow the 2013 game more or less. Maybe not every single story beat, but it does have a lot in common with that game. The basic structure is definitely pulled from that 2013 game, much more so than the Angelina Jolie movies and their game. Those movies weren't really pulling from any specific game. They were just kind of taking the character and the lore and making their own thing. This time they had a template. This is very much so based on that original rebooted 2013 game. So if you're a fan of the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider, then you will find some things here that you will like. That doesn't mean you'll like the whole movie, but you will see some things you'll go, oh, hey, I remember that from the game. And you know, that's always fun. Something else it pulled from the game was its tone. No longer do we have that kind of free-spirited, slightly cartoony, very confident Lara Croft. This is the dark and gritty, brooding Lara Croft, which admittedly really worked in the games. The 2013 rebooted Tomb Raider was really fucking cool. Here in the movie, it doesn't work quite as well as it did in the games, but it does work. I mean, it's okay. She doesn't have quite as much depth as I would like, and she is a bit two-dimensional, but Vikander's performance of Lara Croft really makes up for a lot of that, so it's okay. Plus, she's really got the look. She looks just like Lara Croft from the 2013 reboot. As I said, the story does pull a lot of inspiration from the 2013 game. And yeah, that is neat that they're trying to be faithful, but honestly, the 2013 reboot story wasn't really like that enthralling. The game was for sure, but the story really was its weakest part. It was more or less just there to get our character along her journey. What really worked in the game was not so much the story, but the individual moments, the encounters that Laura had. There were really neat story elements in that game, but all of them were very confined within certain portions of the game. And some of those moments make it over to this movie. You see them emulated here in the film, and they're done fairly well. Which the big emphasis on the story here, which, yeah, I get it, it's a movie, that totally makes sense, is kind of a letdown. I was never really invested in the story of this movie. And seeing as how this is a movie and not an interactive game, you do lose a lot because of that. It's by no means terrible. I was more or less entertained for the whole time, but I felt like it was just missing something. There was a level of excitement and investment that just wasn't there. Now, Vikander does a really good job as Laura. The character, as I said a moment ago, is a little shallow, which I found odd because this character has been around for decades at this point and has a whole bunch of lore and backstory. There's all kinds of stuff they could have written for this character to keep her interesting. But this Laura is just kind of two-dimensional. There's just not a whole lot going on there. She's very laser focused on this one thing, and that's really all she's got going on. Now, more does kind of open up for this character closer to the end of the movie, but you know, that's the end of the movie. And I get it, this was kind of supposed to be like a growing part of her life where she like learned a lot and became this better person by the end, and I guess she did, but I really kind of wanted to see more about that better person and less about this more dull person that we get in the beginning. But Vikander did do a really good job with what she had. She is a very believable and sympathetic Laura. She has the look, the physicality, and definitely the action chops for the role. Now she just needs an interesting character to embody all those things. Maybe in the sequel, we'll see. Everybody else's performance in the film was really well done too. We have some legit talent on display here. The only problem is, it's the same thing as with the character of Laura. We got the talent, we just don't have the deep characters for this talent to embody. Nobody here really has much more to do than what's on the surface. There's not much else going on here. And I mean, I guess that's okay, but is okay what you're really shooting for? Especially when you have so much lore, so much stuff to fall back on, so much stuff to pull info from to build some truly engaging characters. But that's not really what they did. We just kind of got two-dimensional characters. I mean, they served their purpose, and as I said, I was entertained, but I always constantly felt like there was more that could be there. Also, they wasted Walton Goggins. I mean, he did a good job for what he had to do, but that's just it. He didn't have a lot to do. They got fucking Walton Goggins as the bad guy. Utilize him. He does his bad guy stuff, but it's just kind of by the numbers. He doesn't really do anything else. When I see Walton Goggins as the bad guy in a movie, I'm kind of expecting to see fucking Walton Goggins as the bad guy in the movie, not just, you know, that guy is the bad guy in the movie. If you ever seen Walton Goggins in a movie as the bad guy, you know what I'm talking about. Now, even though all the characters are pretty shallow, overall, the performances here are all very well done. Now, the one place the movie definitely excels, much like many other video game movies of this era, is in its technical department. The movie looks fantastic. It's got some great special effects. It's shot very well. It's got some beautiful locations. You can definitely see all the money that they poured into this thing on screen. It's very rare that the effects in this movie let you down. There are a couple of parts here or there that are slightly suspect, but compared to other movies, these effects are great. The movie as a whole is shot really well, but this is an action movie, so how's the action? Well, the action here is shot really well too. Everything looks really good. It's not like a shit ton of cuts or shaky camera, nothing like that. It's all done really well. The only problem is since we are kind of dealing with two-dimensional characters for the most part, you don't have a whole lot of investment in what's going on screen. It all looks good and it's fairly exciting, but much like the performances, the entire time you just feel like this could be more. I should care more. This should be more exciting. But story shortcomings or not, technically, this movie is in very good hands. It looks fantastic. Guys, at the end of the day, Tomb Raider 2018 is a fun ride. Although it is a fun ride, that I see the potential there for it to have been an awesome ride. Overall, it does stand above many other video game movies. This is a very quality film, and it is worth checking out. It's just when you see all the pieces, everything needed is there, and you see what it could have been, but it's just not quite there, it is kind of disappointing in that right. That's kind of a weird way to look at it. I'm sitting here saying, this was a pretty good movie. It's well made, it's exciting, it's a good time, but it's disappointing. Well, that's because the movie's just good, but I see that it could have been great. And right or wrong, I can't help but be a bit let down by that. As it stands though, the movie is a fun ride, it looks great, and has some really good performances, and is absolutely worth a rent.
All he wanted was, hey! This to return some videotape.
This movie was a good time, but like I said, it just has that glimmer of greatness right there that it just doesn't quite achieve. But all that aside, it is still a good time, especially for fans of the rebooted Tomb Raider series. So if you're looking for a pretty good adventure film for the night, then check out Tomb Raider, and I think you'll have a pretty good time with it. So there it is, guys, my review of Tomb Raider 2018. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Hong Kong.
The fate of humanity is now in your hands.
So what's next on the video game movie review list? Oh, The Rock's back in the video game movie world. You know, last time I reviewed a video game movie with The Rock in it, I got this.
The performances.
Performances!
How the hell am I supposed to get home?
Uber!